Qasir al-Wasat is a stealth action adventure set in a mysterious 12th century Syrian palace. Play as an invisible and fragile creature summoned from another world to complete an assassination mission inside an enigmatic palace. Welcome to episode 27 of the 5 T's of Stealth, where we will be discussing Qasir al-Wasat International Edition. Once again, the 5 T's include tasks, terrain, tools, threats, and tension. These are what I consider to be the fundamentals of stealth gaming. And before we jump into tasks, I want to apologize in advance for any pronunciation issues because I'm sure there will be several. Play as Makor, a Goetian from another realm known as Balam. At the start of the game, you are summoned to Earth by a powerful sorcerer. You make a deal to become his servant until the task of eliminating the 3 guardians is complete so that you can explore his palace for information on creating your own gates to Earth. Your reward will be the 3 weapons that the guardians hold: the Persian spear, the broken scimitar, and the silver sword. But more importantly, the poison hidden in their hilts. Once all 3 are eliminated, the game ends and you are sent back to your realm. That is the regular ending. However, Qasir al-Wasat contains a large helping of mystery and adventure. In other words, there is a lot to discover, including the true ending of the game. So while simply eliminating 3 guardians is the main objective, there is a lot of optional exploration to do. While exploring the map, you will come across the central patio and see 4 separate corridors embodying the 4 cardinal directions. Each of these corridors has a deep pool and are joined in the center by a larger one. If you want the true ending, you must allocate the water into each separate pool, slowly removing it from the center where a portal will appear once completed. Take this portal and you will come across the hexadecachron. This item will prevent you from being sent back to your realm upon completing your main task of eliminating the 3 guardians. Let's backtrack a bit. In order to unlock the portal, which will take you to the hex, you will have to do a lot of exploration. Truthfully, the main thing you'll be doing in this game is wandering around a magical palace. Through this random stumbling, you'll find portals or teleporters to other sections, an alchemy set for making potions and unlocking secret doors, rotating dial puzzles, locked doors with hidden keys, and even musical riddles. On top of everything, the sorcerer has alerted all the guards in the palace that an invisible creature has infiltrated and that they must protect the guardians with their lives. Now back to the true ending. Once you have the hex, eliminate the final guardian, and the sorcerer will appear to send you back to your realm, but once he realizes that he cannot, he panics and teleports away. You can now head to a magical door that had been locked and inaccessible throughout the full game. Once inside this room, you'll once more find the sorcerer, who again panics and teleports away, leaving you in what I would consider his vault. Within said vault will be the djinn who formerly governed the palace, but was tricked and sealed away by the sorcerer. Free him, and before he goes to get revenge, he will guide you to the Lesser Key of Solomon, which describes exactly how to make your own gates. And with that, you can exit the palace and watch a short cutscene where you make your own gate, and then watch the credits roll on the true ending. Throughout your travels around the palace, you'll also find scattered bits and pieces of lore, whether that's through NPC dialogue or actual text. But either way, it really added to the story, and I really appreciate just how unique of a setting is present in this game. As I mentioned, this entire game takes place in a magical palace, which the sorcerer describes as hidden between worlds. Because of this magical nature, there are plenty of shenanigans across the map, whether that's hidden doors, secret passageways, or portals. The map definitely has a strong Metroidvania feel to it, with several sections being blocked off until you can find the key, solve the riddle, or activate the teleporter, and I was backtracking through the full palace quite a bit. With all these different methods of traversal, you really never know what to expect in the next room. On one hand, you could argue that it does begin to feel a bit repetitive while wandering around looking for the next clue, but on the other, it was always pretty damn satisfying to find the next path or that one door you somehow missed. The main mechanic in this game is invisibility. I don't mean that as some toggleable skill. You are always invisible while in the human realm. There is one section of the palace that has magic to prevent your invisibility, but that's an outlier. In fact, in these sections of the old palace where you lose your invisibility, there will be walls of light which the guards cannot see through. As mentioned in the Steam page summary, play as an invisible and fragile creature. So again, you are invisible a vast majority of the time, and that fragile aspect comes into play whenever you take damage, as any sort of damage will kill you. Because you are invisible, you naturally cannot be seen, and therefore the guards around you will rely on their hearing to locate you. To counteract this, you will need to sneak, which will have you move silently but slowly. To take care of any pesky guards, you have an attack where you swing at an enemy, which is also used to interact with switches and pick up objects. It's more of an interact button than attack. However, while you are sneaking, you will use a poison attack. But how is that different? Well, whenever you eliminate an enemy, their blood will splatter onto your body, which will ruin your invisibility. A poison attack will prevent that blood splatter, allowing you to stay hidden. However, your poison attack has limited charges and must be refilled by eating fruits scattered around the map. When you are covered in blood, all hope of stealth is not lost. You must find a pool in order to clean yourself off, but be careful because you are visible while in the water. There will be several items to carry, such as rubies and keys, which depending on the size will also give away your position. From what I could tell, keys were the only carryable item that did in fact reveal your location. There's some simple stuff as well, such as flipping levers and opening doors, and truth be told, this is the first game in this stealth series where I can say general movement just feels horrible. Initially, I started on mouse and keyboard, but the game wanted me to use the arrow keys to move, and I'm not a big fan of that, so I plugged in a controller. This didn't really help much. Your character will get caught on weird corners, walk at bad angles, and every time you turn, you slide, giving the movement a very floating and imprecise feeling. Later in the game, once you have eliminated all 3 guardians and metabolized the poison hidden in their hilts, you will undergo some changes. You now have unlimited poison, which means you can stay completely hidden as you move through the palace, taking down the guards. In QAW, we've got 3 variations of guards. First, your basic guard, which will react to sound, investigate dead bodies, see you when bloodied, and pick up objects in the area that you drop. But I should mention I only saw this once when I dropped a key. The basic guards will have a few different looks, but ultimately all act the same. I especially liked watching them swing their swords randomly in an area when they heard something. Next, there are wooden guards. These guards are inanimate objects given life and will revive at a pink circle in the room when eliminated. These guards are actually only present in one section of the map and are the solution to a certain locked door puzzle. There are 6 wooden guards and you must eliminate them in a specific order to unlock a door. If you eliminate the wrong guard, they will respawn. The correct order is determined by the number of eyes each guard has, starting at 1 and moving on to 6. Finally, you will come across jackal guards. These guys are a bit trickier, mostly because they are only active in the old palace, which is where you lose your invisibility. Aside from that, there's some fluff text about how these jackal guards are faster and stronger, but in terms of gameplay, they really feel the same as the rest. Now, the main objective of this game is to eliminate the 3 guardians. But how do they try to stop you? Well, they don't. The guardians don't fight back or anything. They just sit in their respective rooms and wait for you to come finish the job. There's also civilians scattered throughout the palace, but when they're alerted, they just take off running, which can set off the actual guards. Aside from the actual enemies, there are several traps scattered around the palace, including pressure plates that activate gas, shoot arrows, and extend spikes from the floor. The spike traps are used a bit more uniquely, with different areas having sections where the spikes extend and retract in a pattern which requires precise timing. There's also a section completely covered by pressure plates, but some of those pressure plates are actually fake, and you have to find the fake ones to find the safe path through these traps. And that ultimately requires a lot of trial and error. As mentioned earlier, there is an alchemy set you use to make potions. Doing so is rather easy. You simply place pipes to combine different elements until you get the right composition. There's also the riddles, which require you to reveal yourself or step on the correct sound tiles. Lastly, there are rotating dial puzzles where spinning one dial will move another, and you have to line up certain sections in the middle, like the structure of a Venn diagram. The biggest challenge in the game, however, is simply figuring out what the hell is going on and where to go. There were several times where I was stuck and had no idea which path to take and just ended up lost, wandering in circles, making no progress. Out of frustration, I usually started just eliminating any guards or civilians in the area just to ease my soul. Shout out to Donna Marie's guide on Steam, which can be found in the community hub of the Steam page, because without it, I most certainly would have given up and only achieved the regular ending. So thank you. QAW is a challenging game, not because of the combat or the puzzles, simply because of the confusion. As I mentioned, the biggest challenge is just figuring out how to progress. In terms of the actual stealth gameplay, it can be challenging, but for the most part, it's not so bad. What bothers me is how the game somewhat disincentivizes killing, but then puts you in constant situations where killing is your only path forward. Most of the time, you will not have poison charges, and therefore, every kill will ruin your stealth. This led me to a certain playstyle. Basically, when the need would arise, I would enter a room, eliminate a guard, then exit the room, wash off in a pool, then re-enter the room, rinse and repeat that process until the way is clear and you're good to go. I'm not sure how I would fix this issue. I've been debating it for a while and I don't have a good answer. If you have unlimited charges, the game becomes a joke, as proven by collecting the poison from each guardian, and replacing the charges with a cooldown just ruins the pacing, as seen in episode 19 of the 5 Ts where I covered the chameleon. This lack of reliance on complete stealth also led to many situations where it was kill or be killed, and I need precise timing to eliminate a guard that was chasing me about to swing. I can't tell you how many times I traded blows with a guard and we both ended up dead, making me restart. I have two major frustrations with this game that I want to mention. First of all, and this was a recurring problem, when you enter a new room, sometimes you would just be instantly killed because you would spawn in the path of a guard with no time to react. You'd basically have to start moving during the loading screen because there was a brief second or two where the game had started but wasn't visible to you. That was annoying but manageable. The worst part of this game is that every time you step on a teleporter, your screen goes white. Every time you teleport, you get flashbanged. I had to literally start covering my eyes or looking away because it was painful at a certain point. I mean, some of these sections required you to hop on like 4 or 5 teleporters in quick succession, so you're just trying not to go blind. I don't know who signed off on this, but holy hell, bro, please change this. Ultimately, Qasir al-Wasat is a game that will test your patience time and time again, whether that's from confusion in the palace or frustration from unfair feeling deaths. But the story and lore are compelling enough that I had to go on. I don't think I've ever played a game that focused on a setting quite like this, and it is easily unique because of it. While the movement felt horrible, I mean genuinely wow. The concept of the stealth is rather intriguing, and while in practice it's pretty rough around the edges, it's a system I can truly say I've never seen anywhere else. This is arguably the most unique interpretation of invisibility that I've ever seen. I mean, what other game is just like, hey, you're permanently invisible, have fun? That's so cool to me, and it still feels mostly balanced. While again, I have my issues with the blood versus no blood after elimination, the bones of this game are solid. As I said, I've been thinking of how to improve this, and some small thoughts would be to perhaps increase how many poison charges you have. This isn't exactly a fix, but it would prolong your use of complete stealth, and there would be less instances where you were just kinda screwed and covered in blood after taking out a guard. Maybe another option would be like a water bottle, a pool on the go, if you will. Again, limit the inventory here, but you'd have more chances to kill and then revert back to the shadows. I kinda like the idea of your presence briefly seen when you eliminate a foe until you vanish again, causing pandemonium. I think another way to fix this would have been to improve upon the guards. All these guys could do was hope you messed up and got too close or forgot to hold stealth. There wasn't any weapon or tool they had to perhaps find you. And while I wouldn't expect every guard to have this much power, it would have been nice to have some more variety in this magical palace with supernatural entities such as jinns and goetians. Guards were really just dudes with swords, which is a bit of a letdown. So again, I don't have all the answers for fixing this gameplay loop, but I wanted to at least throw out some ideas. I really love how unique it is, and on paper, it's great. But in practice, it could use some work. And honestly, if the general movement felt better, that might be enough. Qasir al-Wasat is a rough game, but one with countless ideas and a very unique identity. While the gameplay won't blow your mind, the story and vibes are more than enough to make this worth playing as long as you have the patience for it.